Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week, the one show where you don't have to do anything but sit back and enjoy all the judgmental stuff that you're about to see over the course of the next hour. I've assembled an incredibly talented panel here tonight. It's Russell Quirk, it is Candice Holdsworth, it is of course Howard Cox, and it is Steve Denyer from Verge Radio. Russell, you're the first kick-offer, so should we go for the Prime Minister?
Yeah, let's go for Keir Starmer again.
Why not?
Again.
Why not?
The perpetual plank, I think it's fair to say.
He really is the perpetual plank.
And I actually
we could actually do a whole show just on him.
Could Starmer
the whole hour.
Week.
All 10 planks.
So, but I've got a kind of double nomination, I think, on the basis that, you know, it's not just for one reason that Keir Starmer should be nominated as Plank of the Week. It's two. The first one is, of course, we've just seen the Lionesses win the European Football Championships for the second time.
Well done to them.
Well done.
Brilliant. Well done.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that in 2022, when they beat Germany, Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner and all of the Labour opposition, as they were then, said, well, of course, there should be a bank holiday.
Yeah.
We demand it, you know, obviously because of the milestone.
There's the tweet.
Yeah, the milestone that was achieved by the Lionesses. Go back a few days to last weekend, and of course the Lionesses do it again. They beat Spain on penalties. Fantastic. Another round of applause. What does Starmer say now that he's Prime Minister? Oh no, can't possibly have a bank holiday.
Have a bank holiday. But can we just see that tweet again? Can we just see that tweet again? Because it's typical Starmer style, isn't it? Look, I'm never complacent about anything. Well, I'm sorry, he's complacent about bloody everything, right?
Yeah, it's another lie.
There should be a celebratory bank holiday if the Lionesses bring it home.
Yeah, but not just that. He's the perpetual U-turner, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he's dizzy.
He is.
If he was a skateboarder, he'd be the world champion for
Absolutely.
360s. But anyway, that's only reason number one, Mike.
Yeah.
Reason number two, of course, is the fantastic scenes at Turnberry Golf Course when President Trump flew in. There was a presser, and it's just Donald Trump as the President of the United States and Keir Starmer. And Donald Trump, in what I suspect was a completely engineered piece of theatre.
No question.
Decides to take our Prime Minister apart. He rinses him, trolls him to his face on the basis, brilliant. And I'm sure we've got a clip, but this is fantastic. This is going to go down in the archives, I think, forever.
Yeah.
As Donald Trump effectively schooling our Prime Minister on such things as crime, immigration, windmills, goodness knows what else, tax, and effectively says to him in front of billions of people watching, if you think you're going to get re-elected, these are the things you need to do. Basically, he recited Reform's policy booklet.
He did. Let's have a look. We've got it here.
You cannot let people come in here illegally. And what happens is there'll be murderers, there'll be drug dealers, there'll be all sorts of things that other countries don't want. And they send them to you and they send them to us.
So
I mean, the real Starmer's just looking there.
I was going to say,
for all the world, like, what am I going to do now?
The real plankery is the look on Starmer's face and the body language. In fact, there was, I think it was the Mirror newspaper got a body language expert in to say, this is what he was really thinking. He was squirming. You could see little beads of sweat on his brow. It was humiliating. But the way that Starmer reacted, instead of standing up for himself and saying, well, actually, sorry, President Trump, this is what we do in Britain, or this is what I believe we should, whatever. He didn't stand up for himself at all. He looked like a little scolded schoolboy.
He saved his one kind of answer, didn't he, for his good mate, and it got to be said, Howard's
my
good
good
mate,
friend.
the Mayor of London. Let's have a look at this one.
I'm not a fan of your mayor. Why not? I think he's done a terrible job, the Mayor of London, but a nasty person. I think he's done. I think he's a friend of mine, right? No, I think he's done a terrible job.
He's a friend of mine. Always tried to get the old hand on the knee, didn't he? Like he did when he was in the Oval Office, you know, because he loves to do that. Loves to put his hands on people, and it's so cringy. You kind of go, oh man. Also, I love the way that Trump doesn't actually mention Sadiq Khan by name.
No,
he just calls him the Mayor of London.
But Howard, you must have loved that.
I watched that. It was a masterclass of what he did. Watching Starmer, he was trying not to squirm, but he couldn't actually not squirm. He was absolutely humiliated, and everyone knows that. And if he doesn't realise that, I mean, he didn't go down to see the girls in Buckingham Palace in terms of the reception, which is good, because he would have been booed there as well, so he's not welcome anywhere. But to cut a long story short, Starmer, masterclass.
But you know what's funny about it is that, you know, this is a guy who will literally put out a tweet every sort of 24 minutes, you know, because of something that he's done. And he had the Prime Minister of Czechia, which I didn't know was a country until relatively recently. No, the Czech Republic is now called Czechia.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Chechnya. He hasn't had them yet. He then had the German Chancellor, Verge, And all the time he's putting out, pictures of him hugging people. Zelensky comes, gives him a hug. That all goes out on his social media. He hasn't posted one thing from the Trump visit. Almost as though he's trying to pretend it didn't happen.
But you wouldn't think that was Donald Trump. You would think that, that was Keir Starmer in America.
Exactly.
He was just he shrunk.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was the statesman.
Because it was his property. Turnberry was a beautiful hotel. And actually, I know from I used to go there before Trump bought it, and Trump has really made it into a proper, nice 5-star resort, which it wasn't. It was all a bit run down. It was a bit of a sort of old-fashioned railway hotel. But he's really made it a fantastic
Isn't it refreshing, though, to hear a politician of any flavour and from any country sit there and speak his mind like Trump does?
Yeah.
And he does it with such panache.
And listen, from the moment he got off Air Force One, he was there chatting to the journalists. There wasn't 1 second wasted, was there?
No, he just commands the room, doesn't he? I mean, it's not like when Starmer's having a press conference, he's kind of standing there all stiff and he doesn't really know how to move, doesn't know what to say.
Well, Trump actually walked down to the bottom of the steps from Air Force One, didn't he? And immediately, he literally only just stood, 2 feet on British soil and started slating our obsession with windmills, and in other words,
I love the way he says windmills.
And immigration. The windmills, what are these things that I saw as I came in?
Well, it's derogatory saying windmills, not wind turbines.
And it's just fantastically candid.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, earlier on in the week, I decided to do a bit of an impersonation of him. That's what he's like. I don't know what's wrong with him. It is very kind of Max Headroom-like,
honestly,
isn't it?
mate, you should have your own impression show. I mean, the impression you do of Trump and, of course, Meghan Markle. I mean, there's a whole repertoire.
There is a whole repertoire. And also this week we had Kemi Badenoch on the show, and I wanted to find out if she, like me, agreed that this guy is an absolute out-and-out liar.
He gets away with it because at the dispatch box, I can't say you're lying. So I have to show it rather than say it.
Yeah.
And I think people are beginning to see.
So it sounds like you do believe that he's a liar, though.
Yeah,
he is. It's a pretty big indictment of the Prime Minister of Great Britain and Northern Ireland that he's actually a liar, and everybody knows it.
Yep.
And one of the reasons I got her to say that was because somebody complained that I'd suggested he was a liar from Downing Street. So
of course he is.
So, I'm just going to ask everybody else what they think. Do you think he's a liar?
Well, of course he's a liar.
Candice?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Absolutely
Howard?
pathological with Sadiq Khan.
Steve?
It would appear so.
Definitely. He's so diplomatic. He's so diplomatic. That's why he's here. But it's true. I mean, you can't imagine a worse Prime Minister. Every day we come in and every day we go, we can't just do Starmer. But, lately that's all you do.
Well, he is the gift that keeps on giving.
He's unbelievable.
It's the regret.
Yeah.
It's the regret that people I know who voted for him are like, oh my gosh, I didn't think it would be this bad.
I still want to know who the 17 or 18% of people that still support Starmer and the Labour Party are. I suspect it's the teachers, the civil servants,
the ones he
doctors.
gives money to.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, he's basically bribing the people that support him in order to keep their support.
He is a man with absolutely no belief, no conviction, no ideology. He's a populist and he's completely out of his depth.
He's very unpopular populist.
Yes.
I mean, most populists have actually got a bit of a following.
You think he'd be better at being
Everybody
populist.
thinks he's a massive plague. Also, he was the one that decided to go and see Trump. He would have been better off not going to see Trump because he could have then basked in the sort of, the glory of the Lionesses winning the
he
Euros,
should have sent Rayner.
Right?
That would have been even funnier.
That would have been funnier. But, I mean, the fact is that because he's so obsessed with being the man on the international stage, he actually missed a trick because he'd been far better off. I mean, as you say, he probably would have been booed if he was on the open-top bus parade. But if he stayed in Downing Street, he would have had his face with them, which would have been far better than this now, what he's hoping that everyone will forget, visit from Donald Trump.
Send Sadiq Khan next time, Howard.
That'd be great. I would love to. I would pay good money to see Starmer to see Sadiq Khan in the same room as Trump. Yeah. That would be brilliant. We've got him. The other thing that he's done this week, which of course I've been railing on about, is the country up and down it, from Epping to Altrincham in Manchester. There was a big march in Glasgow, Norfolk, and down in Bournemouth, I think, in Birmingham. There's all sorts of demonstrations. Canary Wharf, there's one going on outside these migrant hotels. He hasn't addressed it. He hasn't mentioned it. He hasn't tweeted about it. All he's done most of the last week, apart from being humiliated by Donald Trump, is trying to get nation status for Gaza. He cares more about people of Gaza. He cares about the people of Britain.
Should we be thankful that, yes, he hasn't made any statements, but at least he hasn't labelled patriotic, peaceful protesters as the far right this
That's
time?
probably why he doesn't know what to say. Anyway. I think that's it then. We can all go home. Thanks very much indeed. That was Plank of the Week. We'll see you next time. Candice, over to you.
Well, that actually follows on quite nicely from what you said, because my next plank is the Home Office.
Yeah.
So you've got all these protests breaking out all around the country. People are obviously really angry with what's going on. And with sinister and almost comic timing, the Home Office has come in and said, we're assembling elite police squad to monitor the internet to make sure there's no signs of unrest. So basically just wagging their finger. And also, I think, not so subtly saying what they think these protests are.
Right.
They don't think it's ordinary people with legitimate viewpoints. No, it's probably the far right, and they're going to start a big riot.
Right.
And it's just shameless authoritarianism.
It is.
It's a complete overstep.
Monitoring discourse, that sounds familiar.
Well, it
from
does.
history.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's Big Brother. Of course it is.
That's the sort of thing they do in China.
Yeah.
That's why when you go to the Middle East, you get a VPN so that you don't have your phone monitored by
Or the Stasi in East Germany.
East Germany, exactly right.
50s and 60s.
And of course, they're very interesting phraseology about what it is they're actually monitoring. Anti-migrant tweets. Now, what exactly is an anti-migrant tweet? I don't know.
Well, that's the problem. It can be interpreted however they want.
Exactly.
That's the slippery slope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which we're way down, by the way.
But that's what they think it is. They don't think that this is some sort of genuine grassroots thing, that people really feel this. They think it's troublemakers on social media.
Yeah.
We know this from last year. They just think it's troublemakers on social media, riling the mob up. They don't see ordinary people as being an intelligence and having the wisdom of their own eyes to see what's going on. Plus, as well, they know they're utterly useless.
Right, or in the case of Epping, actually genuinely concerned parents, who have seen mums and their kids and their husbands, who have seen at least one asylum seeker, illegal migrant, being charged with a sex crime, but who also know that there's lots of other crime going on in the neighbourhood as a result of these people living in this hotel.
Well, two-tier Keir, if he would have got some brownie points if he actually gone down to Epping and talked to those mums.
Right.
That would have been a great thing.
Well, we had an interview with one of them last week, and I said to her, what's your message to Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper? And she said, tell them to come and see us, please, and ask us what we're doing and why we're demonstrating and what we want.
They've got Jonathan Powell now advising, haven't they?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll help.
Well, I think he can't even pronounce his own name. He calls himself Jonathan Powell, and he don't spell Powell.
Hang on, this is Tony Blair's ex-chief of staff.
Yeah, that's right.
Tony Blair
He's the guy
took us into war unnecessarily.
Yeah. He's also the guy that negotiated the Chagos Islands deal.
Wow. Yeah.
He was down there with old Lord
What a brilliant
Harmer.
negotiator.
I know, it's fantastic. I mean, but this is the other thing. And I've noticed that they did it again this week with, it was the year anniversary of Southport and those horrible events that happened there. And the police put out a message to say that they were monitoring social media to make sure that people weren't, typing, divisive tweets. It's like, you might be better off just policing the streets and stopping people running around with knives, stabbing people. Maybe that would be a good idea.
And there's data that came out today that showed an enormous surge in knife crime and other street crime in London in particular. And everyone has been talking about this.
Oh, what, you mean Sadiq Khan's London?
Yes.
Surely.
Yes.
58% in the last 10 years.
But there's a lot of people been trying to downplay that and say, no, national crime is going down. But ordinary people on the streets are like, I know it isn't.
Lefties are saying this all the time now.
Yes.
They go, oh, yeah, but look at the statistics. There are fewer murders now than there used to be. And, everybody who's lived in London, as most of us have for most of our lives, right? It's much more dangerous now than it was.
I think the problem is with society now, particularly in London, is if you are a shopkeeper and you've had prolific shoplifters in, for instance, or you've encountered some kind of assault or whatever, or you've even seen an incident, probably because you know that the police are non-existent and the judiciary is so woke, frankly, and ineffective, you don't actually report the crime. So it may well be that the reporting figures look
There's
really
no question
low,
that's true.
but people just aren't reporting anymore. Why would you? What's the point?
Yeah.
Yes.
But exactly right. I mean, everybody knows somebody who's had their phone nicked. Everybody knows somebody who's had their car.
50,000 phone thefts in London a year.
Yeah, I think it's double that. I think it's actually double
my
that.
local supermarket is just, there's more people nicking stuff than people paying for stuff. I feel like a mug paying for my stuff.
It's like the tube, isn't it? You're the mug that's actually, paying to travel, as opposed to just jumping on through the gate and waiting for nobody to stop you. It's shocking, absolutely shocking. Howard, over to you. You've got Leicester City Police.
Yes, I know. I think they should definitely get Plank of the Week. I mean, we talked about freedom of speech just now, and what happened in Leicester, there was a bit of a protest on behalf of the Palestinians, a Palestinian protest.
Oh, yeah.
And this woman, who was a bit feisty, she's actually a Romany gypsy.
Okay.
But she's actually quite eloquent. She's a Christian, and she was pushing her baby through there, and she challenged them, and they all got round her, and she felt a bit intimidated.
Yeah.
Anyway, to cut a long story short, she took them on. She was very vociferous. A few Anglo-Saxon words thrown around the place. And the next minute, the police were called in and she was arrested.
So she was arrested?
She was arrested.
Unbelievable. I think we've got a clip.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at it.
Are you going to arrest me?
Yes, you're under arrest.
If you were...
No, you can't arrest her.
Give my details then. I've got my...
You can't arrest her for what?
She
hasn't done anything. I've got it all on camera. I've got it all on camera. jokers.
You've got a baby with her as well.
You've got a baby with her as well. Wow.
Give a detail.
Wow.
Absolute joke.
Wow. Look at this, guys. Two-tier police in court again. Court again.
Can you put it in my bra? Don't worry, if you touch me up, just put it in.
What is going on in this country?
And they didn't even check on the baby.
Right.
They left the pram there. Fortunately, there was someone there to help. I found that out.
And what was the charge supposed to be?
Well, apparently she was actually, there's two things. She was actually more than a breach of the peace. Bear in mind, the others were actually on the other side were the breach of the peace. But basically, it's the freedom of speech. She was attacking the Palestinian argument.
Right. So who knows what maybe they eventually just let her go. I mean, I don't think we know the answer.
No, we don't know yet. I'm looking into it.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous. Just look at that.
Yeah.
She's a woman with her baby, and she's got totally right to actually. She's criticising those protesters there, and they're left alone. The police let them get away with it.
Which she has the right to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was only last week. In fact, we gave it to Essex Police last week because of the fact that they sort of escorted the sort of left-wing agitators into Epping, and then put them in police vans and drove them back to the railway station when they were finished. You got to go in. You know, sorry guys, you're going after the wrong people here.
Yeah.
And also, it's just like ordinary mothers with their kids and stuff, and you're bringing in a bunch of like aggressive left-wing protesters.
It looks dreadful, doesn't it? The optics are terrible there when you look. What happened to that cigarette?
Oh, her cigarette?
Yeah.
I don't know where that went. They put her phone down her bra. Did you hear that?
I thought it was a cigarette.
So, Steve Denyer, is that your biggest concern? That the cigarette got wasted?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I mean, it is. But I mean, you know, the thing that I think annoys a lot of people as well these days is that, you know, Britain, particularly London, it's just become this kind of centre for demonstrations all over the place. It's just demo after demo after demo. I think a weekend goes by
and also
that we don't have some kind of demo.
Entirely differently.
Yeah, totally different.
Depending on who you are and what you're saying.
Yeah, the police are actually supporting the wrong side, though, aren't they? They shouldn't be supporting any side.
Well, they shouldn't be supporting any side, really, should they? That's the point. Steve, over to you. A man of the cloth for you this week.
Can I introduce you to the Bishop of Fulham? I
Certainly.
didn't even know Fulham had a bishop.
I didn't.
But this is the beef. This is the bishop in the dressing gown who interrupted the church concert and asked them to leave, saying they're making a terrible racket. There he is, looking very unhappy. The poor guys, now these guys had actually hired this venue, the City Academy Voice Choir. So it was a Friday evening.
And it's somewhere in central London. It's not even in Fulham, is it?
No, it's not, no. It's St Andrews in Holborn. That's the venue.
Okay.
So he turned up, obviously he'd been trying to sleep or whatever, in a dreadful mood, told them to clear off. But in one final act of revenge, they continued with an a cappella version of ABBA's Dancing Queen. There you go. So,
and there was an audience of about 300 people there as well who had all paid
people
to watch
it was
this particular, you know, and, you know, so the bishop presumably had sanctioned the concert because it was a concert, and he sleeps upstairs or something.
It turns up in his dress. He couldn't even be bothered to put on a pair of tracksuit bottoms.
No.
Get out of my pub mode.
It was a dressing gown he was in.
Yeah, so it was.
And what time of day was that?
It was about 10 o'clock
It was
at night.
just about 10 o'clock.
But the point is, he knew there was a concert. He'd given them permission to have it.
They paid to use it.
They paid.
What night was it?
I don't know.
Friday night.
He only has to work one day a week on a Sunday. What's he worried about getting up on a Saturday morning for?
Well, I mean, to be honest, if you're the bishop, you can sleep any time you like, really, can't you? We've got a clip of it's disgruntled Bishop Jonathan Baker, who is making a speech.
We are in my house, and that's it. It's gone past 10. What house? This is a terrible practice. Good night. Thank you. Look, you are in my house. You leave it now, please. Thank you. It's over.
I always thought it was God's house. I don't think it's his house at all, is it?
Your house.
It's also not very Christian, not very benevolent, is it? Not very inclusive.
And apparently it was booked out. He knew it was booked out till 11 o'clock. He knew what they were going to be doing.
I bet that rendition of ABBA's Dancing Queen was
brilliant.
even.
Yeah.
Have we got that?
Unfortunately, we haven't.
No, I love that they ignored him, though.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Well, they probably didn't know who he was. Who's this idiot?
Homeless guy off the street in a dressing gown.
Some bloke just wandering about the dressing gown, telling someone to shut up. He's like a character out of Faulty Town. I mean, that's what you'd expect. Anyway, a very good start to the show, I would say. Coming up, we're going to be talking about more government departments not being very good and more government ministers not being very good either. It's been another terrible week for Labour. This is Planking.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We've already got off to a very, very good start, and it's my first nomination here, and it's going to be the Department for Work and Pensions, who are right in the middle of it all at the moment, of course, because they're the people who are supposed to be overseeing this cutback in welfare payments, which is not going terribly well. Poor old Keir Starmer, he was hoping to save $5 billion.
Another U-turn.
But he's now not going to save $5 billion. In fact, it's going to cost us even more money to give out even more benefits to even more people. So well done, Sir Keir. But this is the Department of Work and Pensions, who this very week, we'll show you in a minute, put out a job advertising advert in which they were saying they needed a Sharia Law Administrator. Right? Now, I've been having conversations with people for years about this. People would ring into shows years ago and go, there's these Sharia courts all over Britain. I'm going, no, there isn't. They're talking rubbish, absolute cobblers. Well, it turns out there's loads of them. There's about 80 Sharia law courts. People are getting married.
What are they called? Sharia councils?
This was actually an advert for a Sharia Law Administrator. I think they might be called councils rather than courts, and maybe that's how they get around it.
Exactly.
This particular one is in South Manchester, based in a mosque, right? The job's going to be paid £23,500 a year. And basically, if you're an administrator, I assume that's a kind of a role as a judge. So they're judging cases which are brought to before the Sharia court, which nobody else in Britain gets to have a look in. So we don't even know what they're really doing.
Why is it being advertised by government, and presumably, therefore, it's a publicly funded role?
I presume it must be, because it's from the Department for Work and Pensions.
Yeah, and the Times.
And it's not Department for Justice, so I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, even if it was, it would still be inappropriate.
Yeah.
Because Sharia law isn't law in England, Scotland and Wales.
Well, one of the things apparently that people are being troubled by is that a lot of marriages are being conducted under Sharia law, which means that they're not actually properly legal marriages in Britain.
And women are not considered equal. The Times did a big investigation into it, I think it was last year, and it was saying how women were not considered equally in these Sharia law courts. I mean, they were actively discriminated against. So it's really, really, really negative thing.
Is this another testimony, though, to this government's fear? I mean, their paranoia.
It's not just this government, though. It's every government before.
Fair.
The Tories were just as bad.
But about the Muslim vote.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now that Corbyn, of course, has split the left-wing vote with his own party. This is testimony to that. They're absolutely crapping themselves.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely ridiculous, though. But, I mean, if you go to places like where this mosque is based in South Manchester, quite often you wouldn't even know you're in Britain, They've got a completely different legal system. They've got a completely different, sort of rule-based system for the community and the way it works. Everything's sort of centred around the mosque. Police very rarely seen. I think they might even have Sharia police in some of these places, and you don't really know. And nobody seems to be able to answer the questions. You put questions to the government about it, and you don't get anything back.
The sinister thing, though, is it's now being adopted almost as law in Britain, which it is not.
Right.
I'm all for religions, whatever they are, whether it's Hindu, Buddhist, Catholicism, have your own rules and regs within your religion, but not whereby it's then imposed on society as actual rules, regulations and law. And it looks like
do you remember last year when there was all the trouble in various different parts of Britain, and I think it was in Birmingham, where the police sort of chiefs went to see the elders of the mosque.
It was on video.
To sort of say, we'll leave you guys alone as long as you contain all these characters who are going around trying to attack pubs and all the rest of it, all this disorder. We'll just leave it to the community to sort out. Meanwhile, in various other places where it was a load of working class blokes, chucking stuff at the police, they went in with crash.
And even more worrying, there was. This is the thing I saw on video. It was alleged that a mosque elder, a leader, an imam, whatever, had said to a load of Muslim guys, a Pakistani lads with weapons, make sure you put your weapons in the mosque because they won't be searched for there. So in other words, you're allowed to have them, even with intent to use them, but we'll know that we've got protection from the authorities by hiding them in mosques.
When I was standing for London Mayor, I went to see various religious groups, the Jewish fraternity, the Muslim fraternity, Sikh fraternity, and the one that I felt most intimidated by, just talking, guess where? They were, saying, this is what we want, this is what we want, whereas it was a nice dialogue with all the others, but I felt intimidated.
No, I think that's absolutely the case. And there are certainly, as we've seen from the grooming gangs and all that stuff, parts of the north of England which are completely, just lost to any kind of mention of British culture. They're run, the politicians are all Muslims, the local councils are dominated by them. We learned this week the police were involved in some of the stuff as well. It's just horrendous, absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, over to you, Russell. Peter Kyle.
Yeah, Peter Kyle, the technology minister, who quite unbelievably this week, in trying to defend this Act of Parliament, which is now law, the Remind me.
Online
Safety
harm.
Act.
Online
Act.
Safety Act. That's
Yeah.
it, the Online Safety Act. So I'm trying to make sure it's not in my head anymore because I think it's such an abhorrent piece of legislation. In defending it, and effectively, it is a piece of legislation that seeks to censor what you can see online. So it's to deprive the public of their right to free speech and so on. In an argument on various news channels, actually, Peter Kyle decided that he would go to war with Nigel Farage, who, of course, has been probably the biggest critic of this particular legislation. Yeah. Nigel Farage saying, hang on, this shouldn't exist. I will repeal it if I become Prime Minister. Peter Kyle, as a member of the Labour front bench, then says, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm sure we've got the clip.
We have got the clip, but go ahead.
Effectively, if you don't support this piece of legislation, you are a supporter and an encourager and on the side of the likes of Jimmy Savile and therefore paedophiles. What an absolutely disgraceful, abhorrent and wrong thing to say. Gutter politics at the extreme.
And supported by Keir Starmer.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that it was sanctioned. Yeah, it was sanctioned from Downing Street. They knew he was going to say it, and when he said it, they didn't ask him to apologise.
Well, hence no apology.
Quite happy to stand by it. Have a look.
We have people out there who are extreme pornographers, peddling hate, peddling violence. Nigel Farage is on their side. Make no mistake about it, if people like Jimmy Savile were alive today, he'd be perpetrating his crimes online. And Nigel Farage is saying that he's on their side.
I'm sorry.
Not the side of children who are...
I'm going to ask you to clarify. Do you honestly think to say Nigel Farage is on Jimmy Savile's side?
They've got so little faith in their own capabilities that they keep attacking reform with everything that they've got. You know, before they used to say things like, nothing's really costed, he doesn't really know what he's talking about, they could never be in government, it's all very simple solutions for complex problems. That obviously wasn't working because their poll ratings just keep going up. And in fact, Richard Tice was on with Julia yesterday, and he said, every time this happens, our poll ratings go up further.
Yeah, I was going to say, look, another political misstep by Labour on the basis they think that this is going to land a blow on reform, who they're very concerned about, and Nigel Farage.
They literally can't
all it's doing
get anything right.
To your point, Candice, it makes the public, even those that voted Labour, even those that are left-leaning, think, believe, realise that this government is desperate. Absolutely desperate. And to start trying to portray that another parliamentarian, another member of His Majesty's Parliament is somehow in league with paedophiles or believes in paedophile rights, if you like, is way more than a step too far.
The only good thing is that the Parliament's in recess at the moment. I mean, there could have been questions in the House about this, and it's not happening. Got to wait another 6 weeks.
That's the other problem, is that at the moment, Britain is literally, on its backside, economically, socially, there's the tinder boxes all over the place ready to blow off, and we've got no people in Parliament to say anything about it. It's absolutely extraordinary. Let's see what Nigel Farage had to say in response.
Well, this is so absolutely disgusting that it's almost beyond belief. Just how low can a Labour government sink in its desperation? Yes, of course, they're in trouble. They're well behind us in the opinion polls. But frankly, to say that I would do anything that would in any way aid and abet people like Jimmy Savile is frankly it's so below the belt, it's almost not true.
Of course, because the whole debate around this online safety bill is that it's not just about safeguarding kids. They're making out that it's about safeguarding kids, but it's actually about censoring other people.
Well, it is.
Again, Starmer said when he was up with Donald Trump, I'm not censoring anyone. Well, he's actually locked people up.
But within the
tweeting.
Legislation, it specifically also talks about people that might talk about immigration and be anti-immigration.
Exactly.
That's got nothing to do with kids or people under 18. The other thing that we really must kind of put into context here is Peter Kyle then later on, I think he went on to another news channel to try and defend what he'd said, and talked about his defence in so far as trying to defend and rather to prevent paedophilia and child rape and so on. And you think, hang on a sec, you're a member of a Labour administration who actually now is covering up what happened by way of the grooming gangs over many, many decades. This government decided to have a vote not to have a proper inquiry. And it was predominantly Labour councils, Labour councillors, Labour council chief executives that for 30 years have covered up the rape of generally predominantly white young girls by largely Pakistani Muslim men. How Labour can dare to defend their actions on the basis of trying to protect kids from rapists, God only knows.
Right. I know. It is absolutely incredible. Peter Kyle, what an absolute plank. Now, I've got to mention Jeremy Kyle at this point because...
Are they related?
Well, they're not, funnily enough. But Jeremy rang me this morning to tell me that, when you're filming Plank of the Week, can we give a shout-out, please? He's met the biggest fan of Plank of the Week ever in Jersey,
high bar.
believe it or not. In Jersey, he's a bloke called Dino George. He's a Scouser, and he's quite well off, apparently. He's a very nice. He's a very nice.
Yeah, Dino,
he's having a very nice time in Jersey. So there you go. Candice, over to you. You've got Yvette Cooper.
Oh yes, everyone's favourite minister, the formidable,
she's hopeless, isn't she?
the capable Yvette Cooper. She's smashing the gang. She's doing so well. So now she's come up with another plan, and it's going to work. It's going to work, guys. This time it's going to work. So she's going to be introducing legislation that makes it illegal to cram more than 80 people into a boat. And I'm sure the human traffickers, they can't believe this. This is it. They're done for.
You could not. It's already illegal. Now it's double illegal to get in a small boat and come to Britain, and you can commit as many crimes as you like. By the way, because we saw this week, didn't we?
As long as you got 79 in the boat.
Yeah. Well, apparently you're okay with that. I think it is up. I think it's up. It's not even very clear what the number actually is, but the idea that you're making something illegal which is already illegal, right? Because we also learned this week, didn't we, from that footage that we saw from the Copthorne Hotel down in West Sussex, down near Crawley. The migrant hotels are full of people doing drugs. You know, they were walking through the rooms and seeing, there's ashtrays there, people smoking cigarettes. There's grinders for weed.
Yeah.
There was evidence
filming OnlyFans videos.
Yeah, filming OnlyFans videos. I mean, so you can literally come to this country and break 2 laws by getting on a boat to come here, and then you can go into a hotel and break more laws, and still nothing happens to you.
Nothing happens.
I mean, when they say they're illegal migrants, it just means they're people that just keep breaking the law all the time. Law doesn't apply to them.
But they can't think about it in those terms. It's just the evil traffickers. It's the evil traffickers.
Yeah.
They think the word's going to go around the beaches of Calais and going to be like, oh, Yvette's got us now. What are we going to do?
Now it's against the law. We better stop then. I mean,
you can't get in. You've got to stay out.
Right. But not to mention the fact that these traffickers, these gangs, aren't in Britain. They're elsewhere. So we actually legally have no jurisdiction over the 80 in a boat anyway. Yeah. It's absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, I know. It is absolute madness. But I mean, when you think about it, no doubt this will be one of the, when they look back on, how did we do in July?
What, the rundown?
This will be one of their achievements,
Along with breakfast clubs.
Yeah, breakfast clubs, which she keeps mentioning. I'm glad you brought it up, actually, because, we haven't heard about the breakfast clubs for a while. I'm surprised you didn't tell Donald Trump, I've done some breakfast clubs. It's all he ever claims he's done well.
It's a bit like being concerned that as the getaway car leaves the bank, with the robbers in it, that it might be done for speeding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, or maybe give him a parking ticket. You're not supposed to stop there.
Got you now.
Although if you don't pay within 2 weeks, it will double. They've got the swag over their arm. Right. I think we've got to take another break. Coming up, it's yet another member of the cabinet who's going to get it in the neck, and also a very famous pub chain, which Steve Denyer can tell you all about. So thank you.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We're doing really, really well. Apparently, we're running on time at the moment, which is very unusual. Howard Cox, over to you, the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've talked a lot today about various things, and you couldn't believe what they were doing, and you couldn't write this script for all the things that are going wrong. But it's a very important one, the very important thing about the economy. And as we know that Rachel from Accounts last year in the budget, introduced things that actually cost small businesses a hell of a lot of money. National insurance, the minimum wage has gone up, all those sorts of things happened. And the net result, the CBI come out with their red flag report, which shows something like nearly 50,000 businesses are basically about to go bust. And all because of national insurance contributions going up and the minimum wage, etc. Those bits and pieces. I mean, we know...
And also the Workers' Rights Bill, which hasn't really kicked in yet, has it?
Yeah.
I know that's Angela Rayner's baby, but still more trouble for firms, isn't it?
But the point is, the engine room of our society, small business. Small business generates 70 or 80%, nearly 70 to 80% of our economy, our GDP, and yet they're being smashed to smithereens. And I'm very worried about it indeed, because most of my supporters of Fairfield UK are white van men and people like that. The plumbers, the decorators, electricians, who now, they won't go into London for a start now because of what they're going to pay to get in there. But they're worried about what's going to happen with things like fuel duty. And we already know that vehicle excise duty is rocketed. They're even charging tax now on electric vehicles. Where did that go? The environmental story and all those sorts of things. So, Rachel Reeves has got work cut cut out, and she's costing businesses a fortune, ruining business completely. She's got a budget coming up in the fall, and watch this space, because I'll be fighting like mad to make sure she doesn't put up fuel duty.
Well, this is the trouble. I mean, the thing is, they've got nowhere left to go, have they? I mean, I mentioned the welfare reforms that they were going to try and bring in. That was supposed to be saving them $5 billion, which effectively is a drop in the ocean, because they're borrowing more money. I mean, when they came in, there was more lies about this £22 billion black hole, which never existed, right?
Now.
But they're now borrowing $20 billion plus every single month.
But they're borrowing.
I think in June they borrowed $20 billion.
They're borrowing £8,000 a second.
Yeah,
they're borrowing money now just to pay back the debt. And if you do that with your credit cards, guess what? That ends really bad.
You end up having your house seized, your car gets taken.
But on top of all this, Howard, you've got 200,000 people have lost their jobs in the last 12 months under Labour. You've got 16,500 millionaires apparently going to leave. Now, of course, the left will say, "Oh, fantastic, brilliant," but they're the wealth creators.
Idiots, though.
They're the job creators.
They're the ones that pay all the tax.
Well, 10% of the wealthiest people in Britain pay 60% of the income tax.
Exactly.
Right? So it's mindless. I mean, these people that are Richard Bergen, for instance, he keeps banging on about a wealth tax. I mean, how thick have you got to be not to see the consequences?
Well, she's got three choices, Rachel. She's got to borrow more money. print it, or put up taxes.
Which will push
Where else can she go?
Well, she could push interest rates. Do us all a favour.
Yeah, that's what happened last time.
Send herself off to Elba or somewhere.
On the Chagos Island.
In exile. We've got a little ditty here, though. This is her meeting one of her fans last year.
What's happening in Gaza at the moment?
We've had this conversation separately.
Well, we've tried to have this conversation, and you've not been available.
Rachel, would you be able to live without water? Where are you going, Rachel? Don't leave, Rachel. Talk to us.
This is seriously supposed to be the party of the people. I mean, really.
I mean, please.
Yeah,
the party of the Islington elite.
Yeah.
That's all they are. And the public sector.
Yeah.
That's all they are. She's the worst chancellor since Dennis Healey. I'm old enough to remember Dennis Healey.
Well, I think she's going in the same direction.
Well, he's the man that took us to the door of the International Monetary Fund and said, help, we've got no money left.
Exactly. I think that will happen again, because the way it's going and all the indicators, as you say, Howard, all the experts are coming out and now saying, actually, it ain't looking very good and it's looking dire.
And people are really struggling. I really feel that a lot of people are struggling.
There's this absolute sense
of that. It's really hit home.
Right.
People with all kinds of different jobs, all different income, are starting to feel it, and it's not nice.
And even radio presenters.
People are just
on
not
IR35. I mean, seriously,
exactly.
put on this thing. Small businesses are. We're given no support.
Yes, I know 3 people, middle-class people, who've lost their jobs since the
national
insurance
And I hear from people
tax.
every single week on my show, and these are not wealthy people necessarily, but a lot of them running their own businesses, or a lot of them saying that their kids are actually leaving the country because they're thinking they haven't got any job prospects here, and there's no money to be made. So it's an awful lot of people. I think it was last year 40,000 people went to live in Dubai.
Yeah.
And this year they think it will be probably double that. Because you can go to another country and you can make more money. It's as simple as that. And you don't get this horrible millstone around your neck all the time.
I have this image of her at the dispatch box on budget day, sobbing with Kleenex tissue and everything like that.
We still don't know what that was all about, do we?
Weird.
The next day she was all happy and glad, handing everybody and dancing around and sort of making out that she was Christine McVie from Fleetwood Mac. It was all very odd. Yeah. And just to make matters worse, that was all about Palestine. Of course, they've now U-turned again on that because, it wasn't that long ago where they said that they were standing by Israel.
Yeah.
And now they want statehood for Palestine. And it turns out that just this week, Palestine Action are going to be allowed to challenge the Home Office ruling that they're going to be prescribed terrorist organisations.
I was going to say, but how can a terrorist organisation do anything in our country legally?
Well, that's why you have lawyers like Starmer, isn't it? You go, excuse me, aren't you a terrorist group?
Wow.
Yeah, but we've got a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so our lawyer's going to challenge the government. It's unbelievable. It's insane.
That's that whole area of human rights law.
Yeah. And rewarding Hamas, effectively, for what they did on October the 7th by giving them statehood.
You can't stand in a court of law and go, on the one hand, what happened on October the 7th might have been bad, but, there's no but, I'm afraid.
Well, you brought up on your show I listened to about the Munich situation, because that was all the Palestinians.
Yeah, it was.
They just shot innocent athletes.
They killed the athletes in the Munich games in '72. It was absolutely horrendous. Steve, over to you. Wetherspoons.
Yes, this is the great pub snub.
Yeah.
This is a woman who was turned away from her local Wetherspoons that she'd been going to for years. In fact, she said decades. And she turned up wearing a Union Jack dress with the flag as well. And she was told she couldn't go in there. There was an
That looks very nice, that. Why was she not allowed in?
It looks slightly like it's kind of been painted on, but I'm not being horrible.
Okay.
It looks like she's wearing a bag.
It's a national flag.
But But the point is, she was told she's not coming in. There was an anti-migrant protest going around the corner, where apparently 300 protesters turned up. But, however, this Wetherspoons was stopping people back in 2018 with the World Cup, with people wearing Union Jack or football tops or anything that had our flag on. So there was a big barmy at the door.
Yeah, because I mean, you can see pubs in various different parts of the world that say no football tops, but I've never seen one that said no flags.
Yeah. No celebrating your national identity, please.
She was on her own with a bunch of girls.
Wetherspoons is owned by Tim Martin, who's the massive Brexiteer.
He is.
And therefore...
I'm very surprised. Maybe he doesn't know.
Well, yeah, I suggest that he stands up and makes an apology on your show in the next few days.
Yeah, that would be good, because I've not seen this story before, actually, so it's news to me. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very strange, because we've had, again, we did it last week, I think, the girl who was not allowed into her own school to celebrate British Cultural Day.
Well, there were lots of them, weren't there?
Well, there was the one up in Rugby, and then there was another school where about 30 of the kids came in wearing sort of Union Jack.
Were banned for being
clothes,
patriotic.
Flags around and stuff, and they were told, oh no, you can't come into the school dressed like that. It's unbelievable.
There was a time in the 90s. Do you remember when Jerry Halliwell?
I was going to say,
that's an iconic vision.
I was a little girl.
You would think a happy. It just seems.
Julie Hartley-Brewer wore a Union Jack dress the night of Brexit. Do you remember when they had the big rally in Parliament Square? She was very popular.
I do think she was actually just trying to channel Jerry Halliwell, though.
Yeah, very possibly so.
Ginger
she looked great, though.
Amazing.
She looked great, and I think she's worn it a couple of times since, various parties and things like that. But, the idea that, again, sorry to take you back to East Germany, sort of, 1950, but, having people tell you what you're supposed to be wearing and what you can't wear to go into a pub, it's insane.
Yeah, it really is. And she thinks she may be banned after this has happened, because they're not happy that she's gone to the press to talk about it. And she's saying,
tough luck.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a free speech world, isn't it?
Exactly.
You can say what you want.
Yeah.
Weird.
I mean, if that gets around as well, there's going to be an awful lot of people that would be the sort of people that would go to Wetherspoons on a regular basis who might decide not to go.
Well, I've just arranged...
And I can't believe Tim Martin would want
literally
that.
Today, I've arranged to meet a mate in a Wetherspoons in Billericay tomorrow night. I'm going to change the venue.
Really? There you go. So there's money already down the drain. Because Russell will spend a lot of money in there, I can tell you that. Coming up next, we're nearly at the end. We've got a special mention for an old politician, and I'm going to give you yet another mad story for Plank of the Week. Coming up next.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We're into the final furlong. I'm going to decide who's going to win it. But first, we've started doing this thing where, as well as my final nomination, we do a special mention for somebody. So far, it's been quite successful. This week, we're going to give it to Jeremy Corbyn, because Jeremy Corbyn, of course, has gone off to form this new party. But him and Zarah Sultana, in addition to not being able to agree on when they were launching it, now can't agree on what to call it, because he's decided to call it Your Party. And so they've got a website, which is yourparty.uk, which he says 600,000 people have signed up for, right? But she apparently wants to call it the Left Party. And so they still can't really decide. The thing that surprises me is that there's so many people who would vote for them. There's so many mad lefties in this country.
Yes.
That actually they're going to take half of Labour's vote away, which is great news for reform, obviously.
Yeah, great. Lovely. Split the vote on the left.
But it's typical of Corbyn, isn't it, that you can't actually get anything right.
Do you think they should have maybe tried to organise this before they made the announcement?
I think it would have been a good idea. Well, do you remember when they made the announcement? I mean, he was under the impression that he was the leader, but then Zarah Sultana announced that they were both the leader and they were co-leaders. And he rang her up and said,
other, these two?
Well, he rang her up and said, hang on a minute, I haven't agreed to this. And then she'd already announced it.
Oh, my God.
So we don't know what it's called. But here's Jeremy Corbyn, anyway, getting down with the kids, trying to get some more votes.
I only do this party for you. Only do this party for you, for you, for you.
It just looks like a bad episode of the Smurfs.
Yeah, let's play that again. Check out Jeremy Corbyn's expression. He doesn't have a clue.
I only do this party for you. Only do this party for you, for you, for you.
He's been taking lessons from Ed Davey.
Why would you do that?
That's insane. Well,
who's advising
he thinks that's going to appeal to people because it's on TikTok. Because you know what politicians are like. They go, "Oh, get yourself on TikTok. That's where all the young people."
Yeah, Matt Hancock's TikTok page, which was an endless source of entertainment.
My God. So anyway, that's a special mention. So he may not be Plank of the Week, but he gets a special mention. My final nomination is Nigeria. as a country. Yeah, all of it. Because apparently, I mean, to be fair, they're just taking advantage of some stupid government initiative. But again, it's a bit to do with the Home Office. There's a visa scheme which has been made available to people in Nigeria by Britain, in which they can come and they can apply to come here, but they have to have a certain skill. And the skill that they need to have is that they have to be authors, storytellers, or poets. And of course, you can imagine in the Home Office, you just go up to some guy in Nigeria and you go, tell us a story, You're in. You're
making this up?
I'm not making it up, no. They have made, by far the most people who have applied to come on this from Nigeria are basically literary, so all the Nigerians that have come into this country in the past year have come under this scheme. And they've called themselves poets, oral storytellers, right? Creators of graphic novels and comics. And so basically, if you can say to somebody at immigration, I'm an oral storyteller, i.e. you just tell stories.
How many come in?
It's tens of thousands of them.
What?
I mean, it's
nothing. Is there a threshold of quality, or is it just be as rubbish as you are?
Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of poetry, to be honest, but I mean, there is some poetry which is pretty good, and a lot of poetry which is absolute crap. But I don't imagine they're grading it.
Yeah.
They're just going, I'm a poet.
There's no big red buzzer or anything.
No.
Through to the next round.
Yeah. And you get this, right? If you are successful in your application to come in as an oral storyteller, you're able to bring your family into the UK as dependents, and you can stay for as long as 5 years. Now, you can imagine what happens at the end of 5 years. You get some more oral storytelling to do.
It's unbelievable.
And you stay for another 5 years.
Don't we have oral storytellers here? I mean, have we got
they're called politicians.
Have we got a shortage of poets?
I think they're called prostitutes, aren't they? I mean,
it's incredible that we've got such an immigration problem, isn't it? It's incredible we've got such an immigration problem. I don't know why.
Yeah. I mean, who on earth is dreaming this stuff up? Because, it's not as if, somebody went, what we really need in this country is some Nigerian storytellers.
There's not enough.
We don't have enough of them,
Yeah.
If you presented this as a script, what we've done today in the plank of the week, what's happened, you'd be thrown out, would you? You said, no, there's no way you'd do that. But it's the truth.
It's absolutely and utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, the more you dig into some of the rules and regulations that they've got, like even, it changes, I think, every 6 months or so, the list of skilled workers that we bring in.
Yeah.
Magicians, DJs, apparently.
Wow.
We don't have enough of them.
Well, that's true.
I'm always available to do more jokes, Mike.
I think that's true. Steve can easily be replaced, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever else. Butterfly catchers.
Yeah.
Cake mixers.
I mean,
shoe
and
menders.
bizarrely, one of the things they've taken off the list of skilled visa applicants is chefs, which is actually something we really need.
We need.
Because a lot of people in Britain don't want to be chefs because it's quite a tough job. So an awful lot of restaurants have foreign chefs, but you can't bring them in because there's no place for them. But you can have a Nigerian storyteller. See how he cooks the soup.
Who approved this?
The Home
The Home Office.
Which minister?
Oh, I don't know.
It's Yvette Cooper again then.
I don't know. Well, it may have dated back to beyond her.
Yeah. So it'll be a James Cleverly...
This is what we're saying. I mean, the bloody Tories were no better.
They were
coming
terrible.
up with all these ridiculous ideas that,
But also the civil service, that layer of anarchy underneath the politicians, of course.
Yeah.
It's a madhouse. The Home Office is an actual madhouse.
Yeah.
I think
Apparently this has got some connection to Arts Council England as well.
God, of course.
Or so they're giving them money as well.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can come in and get a grant and bring your family
Is £8,000 a poem?
And stay for 5 years.
Yeah.
What a story to tell.
What could possibly go wrong?
I mean, absolutely
You better
right.
tell those people on the dinghy, this is a way in.
They're all poets.
Yeah.
They're fleeing poets.
Just bring a book of your poetry. And just go,
They'll be citing words from land on the...
I want to use a cloud.
Byron.
A horse. A kingdom for a horse.
Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well as they land on the beach.
This is good. Very good. Right. Now, I'm going to find it very, very difficult not to give this to Keir Starmer this week. I mean, I know that we give it to Keir Starmer quite a lot, but I mean, this week...
Do you think Peter Carl's second?
I wouldn't make Peter Carl as important as to make him Plank of the Week. I mean, apparently somebody sent me a text in this week to say that apparently he's a well-known dyslexic because he appeared on a BBC programme once and he was asked about, funnily enough, calling people names because Elton John had called him a moron. Do you remember on Laura Kunsberg? And he actually said, in fact, we should have gone back and found that clip. He said, well, I've been called names all my life, and it's a terrible thing because I'm dyslexic. And so he said, he was called a moron by his first teacher.
Well, he thought it meant Roman.
Because apparently he's got a reading age of 8, which is better than Angela Rayner, to be fair.
He's definitely got the intellect, the childishness of an 8-year-old.
Exactly right. So I'm not going to give it him. I think we have to give it to Keir Starmer because, if for nothing else, just that expression on his face. Is it all? Can we have another look at it, or is that not possible?
And look at the hands.
Yeah,
look at the hands.
And the hands and the way that he responds and there's a frozen sort of look and he just doesn't know what to do.
He's horrified.
And he can clearly you can clearly see that he's sitting there going, I should have stayed in London. I shouldn't have come. So there we are. Keir Starmer, plank of the week yet again. I can't believe that he's going to do anything worse than what he's done this week, but I say that every week.
I can't wait till plank of the year. I mean, is it just him?
I think it will just be him. We could have a sort of top 10 Labour cabinet ministers.
You'd have to have 2 shows. You've got the Keir Starmer one and then all the other
because it's not fair to anyone else. Really.
And don't forget Sadiq Khan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Sadiq Khan normally has quite a high account on the plank of the week, but this year, actually, for some reason, it's not quite as bad. So, Russell, Candice, Howard and Steve, thank you very much indeed. We'll be back with more plankery, same time next week.